Mate, what?
Revelation Online, mate.
MMOs.
No, high five, mate. Christmas t-shirt.
Yeah, we're flashing today. We're glowing. We're keeping
March.
it festive. I love Christmas. So, you've been asking us to look at MMOs for ages, because obviously, we're MMO bros, and we get a lot of offers to look at MMOs, but we always say no. Why? They need months.
They do.
You need months. Like, even now, I could do, like, a report on should you buy Legion. It's been out for fucking ever. So what we decided to do is give it a try, and we looked at the dev got in contact with us. Full disclosure, the dev got in contact and sent us a code and said, this one's a little different, mate.
He said, throw your ideas aside, mate, yeah? Just check this out.
Big difference is this one's been out since 2015, bruh.
China, mate.
China, yeah, it came out in China. So this one's coming over to Europe, and they're doing the translations and all that. So we got a code, and also it's an open beta, so you can check it out yourselves.
It is free to play at the minute as well, so you can download it and try it yourself.
So you're going to be checking this one out, because I go in with a preconceived notion of MMOs, you can probably imagine.
He's very elitist.
Very elitist. So you're going in there, because in terms of MMO variety, you're actually the man. You've played way more MMOs than I have. Yeah, I've played like 2. That's about it. So, enjoy, mate.
I'm excited, mate. It looks good.
Dig in.
I'm going to do that, mate. Let's go top shelf me. I'll see you shortly.
I thought you were going to ditch me there.
Oh, mate, I did ditch you.
Select character.
So, mate, because it's an MMO, we're going to have to definitely treat this differently. So, you played the shit out of it, but obviously you weren't going to cap or anything like that.
No, I had a limited time, but I ploughed as much into it as I could.
Yeah, so what I did is I extensively researched what's happening at Endgame.
Yeah.
So we can kind of get a feel for it. I mean, I think that's the best compromise. But
Definitely,
again,
yeah.
Let everyone let us know. So, pal, where are we? What world are we in? Where are we going to be spending some time?
Right, pal. Well, anyway, let's just give it the tiny bit of background is that Revelation Online was released in open beta in China in 2015, and we're getting it this year in our open beta. This is free to download, free to play at the minute, but I don't know if the free to play is like a continual thing or if it's just for the beta.
It is going to be continuous.
It is.
Yeah, it's got a cash shop.
Oh, okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So anyway, the story, pal, is God's created the world of Nuano.
Nice.
Right? Yeah, and he also
Good guy.
he created 5 guardians to protect it. Now, there was a force called the Darkness that threatened the planet.
Typical fucking darkness.
Classic
Wesley,
Darkness.
Goddamn
Right?
Snipes.
Shit rock band.
Charlie
bad for
Murphy.
the world. Charlie Murphy. Darkness. One of the wardens actually sacrifices himself to stop the darkness, but all he does is absolve it and become part of the darkness himself.
What a fucking bellend.
So, we as the hero are going to bring this world back to order. Okay.
I guess people have probably seen by now, looking at the background, super JRPG graphics.
Super, mate, you don't even know.
Are we going to be mind blown?
You're going to be mind blown. Let me talk about character creation further down the line, then I'll blow your mind, son.
Bish bosh.
Bish bosh.
Bish bosh.
So anyway, nice segue into the gameplay.
Yeah,
now,
what's the classes, bruv?
This, before we get into the classes, it's quite a generic CRPG.
Yes.
Yeah? It's a lot different from your standard MMOs that we play. You know, like Western MMOs, kind of like Warcraft.
Yeah, they've all got their own unique
like
style.
that. So, this one has got a lot to cover, but there are 6 classes, like we've said. There's the Gunslinger pal, which is like kind of a ranged target for good single target and AoE as well. Pretty good AoE.
What do we compare it to? Like a bounty hunter in SWTOR, or?
Very much so, yeah. Strong single and AoE as well. And there's the Blade Master, kind of like a Fury Warrior pal.
Two 2Hs, or?
2 2Hs, no, 2 1Hs and a big 2H on his back.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the one that I actually favoured was the Blade Master. We'll get into that in a bit. There's a Spirit Shaper. Now, I was going to abandon the Blade Master for the Spirit Shaper because it was so much fun to play. The Spirit Shaper's a ranged class, but also a healer. Okay? But the animations on it were fucking mind-blowing.
Oh, really?
She's got an AoE where, I say she, my character was a she, an AoE that you put on the ground and it basically spawns a pool and a huge fucking whale jumps out of it.
No
and then
shit.
splashes back down on it. It looked very, very cool. So that was a Spirit Shaper.
Looks a little better than Efflorescence, then.
There's the Vanguard. Now, the Vanguard's a big tank. Motherfucker.
If you're going to put a Vanguard up in this bitch, you know I'm tanking.
If you call it Vanguard, it's going to be tank. Now, I think this was the only tank spec. I mean, the Blade Master, has got some defensive abilities, but nothing that looks like it'll be able to tank.
I did read, I mean, we are going to jump back and forth here, but it's generally considered Vanguard is the tank.
The tank, yeah.
And the Blade Master is the off tank sometimes.
Okay, that makes sense, because it does have some defensive
So a little
cooldowns.
diversion there from the classic Trinity style.
Now, the Vanguard, because I was pressing the presets on the character creation, one of them looked like one of my old heroes of, I think it was it last year, was it this year? But anyway, called him Gladio. Looks like Gladio,
really?
mate. Yeah,
Bit of a
beautiful man.
A query for you then.
Hit me.
Did the classes you chose determine the visuals? Like, were the Blade Masters larger?
You've got full customization of your character, which we'll touch. Don't worry about it, pal. After we've talked about the classes,
I'm curious.
Yeah. But the presets usually are the Vanguards. The preset is it's bigger.
Yep.
The women are much smaller, and so on and so forth. So that's the Vanguard, and the Vanguard's obviously, like we talked about, tank. He's got very weak single target, but massive AoE damage, like various cleaves and slams and jumps. Now, the next one's a Sword Mage. Now, this was a very cool bit of gameplay with
I just want to be clear, you played all of these.
I did play all of them through the 15 levels of prologue, yeah, just so that I could... I didn't want to jump into the Blade Master because it looked cool, you know? I wanted to play something I enjoyed. So the Sword Mage is ranged magic damage with very strong AoE.
Oh, like a Battle Mage?
Yeah, not very good survivability, but the beauty of this is they've got 3 elements, which is electric, ice, and fire. Now, you can actively change between those as you're fighting.
Oh, like stances?
Exactly, kind of like stances,
okay.
yeah. So, like, there is certain abilities that if I fire a fireball at someone, which I can do in all 3 classes, in 3 stances, if I'm in fire stance, I can then do an additional ability to that. You know, like I can make them explode.
Yeah.
There's like ice shackles in the ground, and if I'm in ice, I can then make them explode with ice as well. You know, like, very nice
That
mix.
sounds like, and I know it's not like that, but like Magicka.
No, I thought exactly the same, pal, when I was playing it,
okay.
because you can do things like, I can be in ice stance and fire a fireball. Now, I've got a certain amount of time before I can ignite it, if that makes sense, and then I'll put the ice shackles on, I'll explode the ice shackles, then turn into fire stance and explode the fireball.
I hope that works at Endgame, and not like, well, you just stay in fire stance all the time when you're actually doing
Oh,
both,
yeah,
mate.
that'd suck.
You know what I mean? You know
Yeah.
when you get there, like,
But-
this is really fucking cool, but when you actually get down to it, mate, you just fucking
Stay in
fireball
fire
over
stance.
and over again.
Well, that's the beauty of it is there's a couple of, like, your special abilities. Like, each character's got 6 special abilities, which we'll touch more on after the classes, but they also change for the Sword Mage depending on what stance you're in. Yeah, which is cool as well.
That sounds like something that might tickle me.
It's
actually.
very cool. And the last one is the Cultist. Ooh, he's very edgy.
Is he a warm?
I made him look a lot like Sephiroth from Final Fantasy. You know, slender, long white hair. Has a big scythe, mate. Deals in death magics. Now, the Occultists are both ranged DPS and healers, but I think, in terms of fun with spells, it was the Cultist.
Yeah, it's body wise, is what they're aiming for.
It's very body-wise, but there were some things that they do with it where there is like an AoE orb that he basically summons with his hand and then smashes it away with his whatever weapon you're using at the time, and then you detonate it when it's over them, which was very cool.
Like an explosive shot type.
Exactly. So like you can fire that off, use them depending on your range, fire a couple more abilities, and then detonate it as it's traveling, which is cool. So that's going to lead us into, pal, the character creation itself.
Yeah. So this is a big deal because a lot of especially the JRPGs, are all very much like how you look.
Very much so.
Very much.
Very
So
much
what is the MOG situation? and,
Now,
and obviously the races.
This was fun and it was very depthy. Think of like a nice mix of like Skyrim and WWE 2K17.
Holy shit.
Very, very
Really?
depthy. To the point where you can choose the pattern that are in your iris of your eye, rotate that, you can put the angle of your eyes, the width of your eyes, your jaw, your cheekbone, your neck, upper arm, lower arm, chest,
I assume
stomach,
that
waist.
details for cutscenes and stuff, right?
All of it.
All of it.
All of it in the game, mate. You can get right up to someone and, like, obviously you can, if you're looking for... I mean, like, the iris is obviously just for you, I guess, but it is there in-game. If you actually said, look, my iris, I've just done this to it. So that's very, very depthy. There are a lot of presets as well, which I actually use because I'm not very good at, like, actually manually...
Yeah. I'm not good at changing facial features. I always end up with somebody who looks like Oddjob or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think I have a wide jaw. Or
Yeah.
I don't.
Well,
know.
that's what I do. Like, yeah, I'm the same. I'm sort of like a fine mix. Like, I'll pick the closest preset that I want and then adjust it slightly to what I
I'm with
like
you.
as well.
I'm with you.
There were a couple of presets in there, by the way, that I don't know if they're allowed to do it or not. There's one of them that is unmistakably Kratos.
Oh, you did show me that. It
I
is
did.
Kratos,
And then there's Krillin from Dragon Ball, and then there's Akuma. Now, these are just character likenesses, but how far does that go in a game? But the Akuma, the Krillin is fine, but the Kratos, mate, is unmistakable.
To be fair, you can make Kratos in Dark Souls 3. I've seen Ella do that.
But they can make it in Dark Souls 3, but it's not a preset of Dark Souls 3, you know?
Yeah, so, I mean...
And then obviously, what I did like about it, and this is such a minor thing in character creation, is once you've created your character, obviously, it'll have them in their underwear.
Yeah.
Now, we can actually touch on this now. The female in their underwear is only designed for one reason.
Yeah. It's always a bit dodgy when we get into these kind of games.
It is.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, it doesn't even matter if it's an MMO or whatever, but as soon as it goes into Weibo
I'm
territory...
not complaining.
It's like the underwear's on show.
Yeah, I'm not complaining, but when you talk about Weibo, they had like almost transparent negligees on and huge tits.
It's the style of game.
It wins for me, but like I look at it and I think, come on, man.
It puts me off.
A little bit of salt.
It puts me off because I'm like, dude, no, I'm too old for this.
I'd say that sort of comes as a neg, which I've not put in my cons as well, though, is the fact that they've been quite sexist in not just that, but the animation of women as well.
Interesting.
You know, like when they move, they really like shake their ass like
all
over
hips,
the top.
Hips for days.
Yeah, and they're dancing sort of like sexy and stuff.
But as we saw though, I know this isn't about the game, but as we've seen is when games put in uglier female characters, let's just say that, or less sexualized female characters, a lot of women don't like playing them. They like playing them. There was a study on it last year. It's like girls prefer to play sexualized characters in games, which I don't know. I mean, I don't give a shit, but
graphically, mate, it's actually very pretty.
Yeah, it
very
looked gorgeous.
pretty.
It looked
Yeah,
gorgeous.
I had no problems with the slowdown. My concern when having a character customization that depthy in an MMO is it does create a lot of slowdown.
Yeah, interestingly enough, they've implemented a system into this game where you can literally change everybody else in the world to look exactly the same.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have a really generic model. Just so it doesn't affect your PC performance.
That's cool.
So you can run it on a potato, essentially. Literally, so you don't, not everybody, they might have fancy mods or whatever. Doesn't matter, you won't see them. You can literally do all that.
What also on top of that, mate, just to help with your computer as well, is a very fucking cool method. I was going to talk about this later, but it was a nice segue there, is the fact that when you're in the open world, if you press F10, it turns it into a solo RPG. It removes everyone from the world instantly without no reload or anything like that. It just plays on your own.
Instantly phasing you. And you know what I bet that does? Makes you invisible or something like that.
Potentially, yeah. I mean,
I know it can do that because you won't be able to see
in the tooltips. It says, in the tooltip it says, you know, if you're struggling with FPS or anything, just press F10. It'll take everyone out. I found myself doing this a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you press F10, they're immediately back again. So they still have to be there, and I don't understand how it helps your FPS if it's not going to.
I mean, I assume you can't see them attacking mobs or anything like that.
No. In fact, there was an instance later on in one of the levels where I saw a mob taking damage and running.
So they are there.
They are there, but like they're just not on your screen. It's interesting how that would help your FPS. I like the fact that it's
phasing you, otherwise they wouldn't be able to do anything.
No, exactly that.
It's literally they're making you invisible. And
they're making you invisible.
Player damage. Okay, interesting.
Like a different dimension.
But graphically, we're happy.
Graphically, it was very nice.
For MMOs are always because otherwise they don't run for anyone.
It does have to have a very low benchmark for an MMO to be compatible with a lot of people. But the graphics were very pretty. They're obviously quite basic in some instances, like when you get a close up of in-game cutscenes and stuff like that. But yeah, I enjoyed it. There were a couple of graphical glitches, like the water wasn't very good. It wasn't animated.
Shit.
Yeah, it was not very. It looked like it was.
It looked like it was vibrating.
I was just going to say the same thing.
It looked like it was vibrating. It was
very strange.
That's some of the worst water graphics I've seen.
Yeah, it was very strange. But overall, man, I mean, like especially because you can triple jump into the sky and glide before you get your wings, and it looks beautiful.
Did you just say wings? Talk to me, Goose.
No, mate. That was a nice little, baiting you, bringing you home and baiting you. So let's talk about the combat itself then. Now, it was a very nice mix, and I think we had this as well, if I'm not mistaken, in... what the hell was that failed WoW killer called?
Okay, let's do the list.
What
recently,
was it
Wildstar?
Wildstar.
Yeah.
It had a mixture of active, targeting, and skill shots.
Cool.
Yeah? So it's even ranged as well, man. Like with the occultist is if I'm targeting something, I can put my dots on it and hit them with my basic attacks. Whereas things like we were talking about the golf ball AoE orb, is I have to actively aim that.
So skill shots. If you're not, the easiest way to say it is League of Legends as skill shots.
League of Legends, yeah, you have to aim your own. So it's done in real time. It's not done by auto targeting.
It's not something that's in WoW.
Yeah. So, and it's very varied as well. Even the melee's very, very varied. Like we said, with the Vanguard being AoE heavy, you can see that with massive cleaves and various slams abilities. Whereas the Swordmaster, he does have a very small cone of AoE, but it's very fast and it's a lot different. And the ways that they stack their buffs on each other and the way that mechanics work for each class is very different. You know what I mean? They're very, very different from each other. So, yeah, man.
The wings. So, what is the gimmick that they're onto?
Right, okay.
All these MMOs, to be fair, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
But usually they have something that's like, this is what makes us different from Terra or from Black Desert Online, things like that. So what's this one?
Well, pre-level 30, you do get to experience the kind of freedom of flying and gliding, like we said, because that's a very big part of the game, is the movement is so fast. Like active dodging in fights, active sprinting and jumping out of fights to cover a lot of terrain. You've got a stamina bar, so it's unlimited, but at level 30, you get your wings. In fact, I think it was 29.
Yeah.
I think it was level 29, you actually get your wings. It wasn't a quest or anything, it was just a sort of milestone.
Oh, you just got it?
Yeah, it was sort of like, congratulations, here's your... I would have liked, because the game's gimmick is based on the wings.
You get your fucking demon pets for, like... I got mine crossing a road. It's like, oh, you're level 10 now, there you go.
It's your demon pet. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen, like, an unlock of power, but here's the confusing part of the game is, 2 parts prior to level 29, there are parts where you get wings.
Oh.
Now, one of them is sort of gifted to you by one of the guardians who follows you. I think he's called Akuta. And like he said, oh, use my wings and just go and do this.
All right.
So like, all right, thanks,
I'll take that. Off, yeah, casually.
And then you go and speak to an NPC, which is up on a hill, so it gives you that basic sort of flying feel, and you get back again. And then there's another cutscene where you don't actually fly at this time, but it shows you just spawn your own wings. There's someone's taken, and Akuta follows them. He jumps up, fires his wings out, and chases after him. You do the same. For like no reason.
Weird.
Yeah, but then when you get to level 29, it's like, you, sir, are now strong enough to have your own wings. Maybe, here's the thing, maybe it's a sort of like, they've always been there.
You've got to unlock the path.
Yeah, this was like a sort of like, it was sort of like a stress thing, like that's why you spawned your wings, even though it seemed quite fluid that you just jumped up and then spawned them. But maybe it's a sort of like, okay, now you're strong enough to actually use them under your own command. If that
Did we like
sense.
The wings? Are they replacement? Because there are mounts in the game as well, right?
There are ground mounts, but I will say this, I think it was like level 14 you get a horse. No, it wasn't. It was after that, because it was in the real world. From the get-go, they were redundant, because you can sprint and run and jump and glide faster than that mount.
Didn't you tell me it was like a taxi service?
That's a different element entirely, mate.
Yeah,
One of the plus
I'm
points.
guessing because I've been watching you play every now and then.
Yeah.
What's going on.
So that's the flying. But as you progress further through the game, when you've unlocked your flying, you actually unlock abilities for your flying, so you can initiate aerial combat.
Yeah, you can PvP as well?
You can
Nice.
PvP. You can PvP and PvE with your wings out, which I think is pretty cool. It's kind of like, obviously, we've seen wings before in things like Aeon, but this is a nice little sort of... They've taken that dusty tome, brushed off the dust... Got rid of some of the shite in it and actually made it a lot more fun.
Sounds like a War of the Valkyrie.
A War of the Valkyrie? That's pretty... yeah.
Thank
I
you.
like
That's
that,
the new
mate.
MMO that's coming. It's the new expansion.
So that was cool. And of course, like, we've got... It does cater for everything that you see in an MMO. We've got a lot of PvE, dungeons... there is endgame raids, and there is world bosses as well, like we've discussed earlier. And also PvP as well, pal. There is that. There's you can do your standard duels with people, like I've done that in a town a couple of times. There's world PvP, and there are battlegrounds and arenas as well.
And castle sieges, with no limit on the amount of players.
Exactly. Now, the castle siege is an open map area where an unlimited number... I actually think they capped it. What was it? I think it was like 1,000, they said, or something like that.
I mean, they say there's no limit on it, but obviously they're not going to put 1 million.
It depends how good your computer is, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, people who own the game, I suppose, is going to put it in there.
It does cater for all elements of what you'd play an MMO for, whereas, like, the only one that I'd say diminishes a bit is if you play an MMO, which I do for some, like SWOTOR, if you play it for the story.
Tell me through the leveling. big deal. I
leveling.
mean, if an MMO starts leveling and it's very much like, well, I'm instantly out.
Yeah, no, okay, that makes perfect sense to me. I think you've actually covered the later endgame leveling, which you can...
I know about the endgame.
You can clarify that for us in a bit. Now, the starting leveling is up to level 15. You're in a prologue area where it's just a bit of story.
Times. Give me some times.
Okay, then I managed to do the prologue area in potentially... I had it cut down because I had to do it 6 times. I cut it down to, I think, about 20 minutes.
Oh, so still 15?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
You do like...
The cap's
I think
79.
The cap is 79, correct, yes. But the thing is, with the 15 levels in the prologue, I think they're all deliberately allocated XP points for you to get your level at a certain point. It was very, very basic. It was a bit confusing at times, though. There are mobs that obviously you now know from the story in the prologue are bad. Sometimes you can attack them, sometimes you can't. Sometimes they're there and unattackable until some sort of dialogue initiates that.
Oh, you gotta prop the triggers.
You've got to prop the triggers to attack the mob. So there were even some points where it's like a sub-boss in the prologue. I'd pop all my cooldowns and go at it, and then it'd say you're immune and
like,
be
it's
no...
worse than evade.
Yeah, and because the Blade Master's active aiming, where I'm putting my cleaves and things, it was just not registering damage because I can lock onto them anyway, even if they're an NPC-based mob. But... yeah, they weren't taking damage. And all of a sudden, it was like, there you go, there's the damage. So, in a crux of it, it does cater for everyone. It is very, very generically CRPG. Not a bad way. It's just a different style of MMO play. Very, very, very overwhelming.
Yeah,
very
so this was a big
overwhelming.
complaint from a lot of people about the game. So we can do the pros and cons. Do you want to do the pros first?
Let's do the pros and cons because we do talk about why it's overwhelming in the cons. So pros is, like we've said before, is the scenery is fucking beautiful. Really is. There's a nice variation
Besides
as
the
well.
water.
Besides the vibrating water that's got like a bass drum under it. But the scenery varies, man. We've been through like orchids and stuff like that. You know, with like the pink rose petals falling down.
Oh, yeah.
Which look very pretty. We've been to mountains. We've been to like seaside resorts. Kind of like the one in Final Fantasy 15. You know, the one at the start where you do the fishing. So you've got that variation. I mean, I'm not even halfway through capping a character, and there's already that variation. So one can only assume that it's only going to get more varied and maybe even darker as you get later on. So that's exciting to look forward to. Now, this is something that you tried to skip, mate, before, but we'll talk about it now.
Sorry, bro, I do get excited.
Hey, I know you do, mate. I can see it in your pants. Exactly, a distinguishable bulge there, sir. Now, quest pathfinding. I don't know if this has been used before, and like we said before, I've played several MMOs. This is the first time I've seen it. On the map, so like if I've got an NPC that I have to go to initiate a quest, to hand a quest in, if it's an area I have to go to kill specific mobs, the entrance of a dungeon or a raid, if that is in my log, in fact even it doesn't have to be, you can search for it manually, I'll find it, click it, my character will make its own way there, pal. Even if, to the point where if you have to go through a portal, yeah, he will go through it and manually get you there.
What are your thoughts on it?
I liked it. I've got to say, it's like people go, oh, it's fucking well lazy. Well, no, it's not, because there are that many options that you can do in the background in that game, which you can be doing while it's doing it. I mean, pre-getting your wings, because you can do it on your wings if you've got it, like glide over the water as opposed to going round. It will walk, it will mount your horse, and it will take you to the NPCs.
Interesting.
What are your thoughts on that? Because you look like you're going to have a different idea process.
I don't like the idea of just putting my character on treadmills for a lot of the time. Knowing what I know about the end game as well, but we'll get there. But so bear in mind that you can basically click go, and your character will get to where you need to be.
It won't do it. It won't do the actual actions when you're there. It won't kill the mobs.
No, it won't do the quest.
No.
It's a travel system. I mean, if you play Final Fantasy 15, it's something similar. You can drive there yourself, or you can tell. What's he called?
Not telling
Blind
you.
guy.
Ignis.
Spoilers.
Oh my god, you fucking idiot. I've only just realised, But Ignis,
so
you
anyway,
can tell Ignis.
You can tell it to drive for you. So, okay, I mean, I'm not going to judge too harshly. I don't know if I like that or dislike it. I'd have to actually play around with it.
I think for me as well, like, with my level, like you touched on, it might change at endgame, but at my level, I enjoyed it because I could set my character on a path, and then I could be exploring the options, checking my gear, my stats. Your stats, by the way, when you level up, are manually put in. Abilities, strengths, dex, intellect, that kind of thing as well. You manually put them in yourself. It does have a very... I actually had to look online to make sure it was accurate. It's sort of like a cookie cutter button if you're worried where to put your points. You
I like Mass Effect. Do you want us to auto do it, or do you want to pick it
but
yourself?
not that much. Like, it will stockpile them, and then there'll be buttons like for attack, defense, utility, and then it will allocate the points
That's cool, because there is a lot of overwhelming information.
Exactly. That does take a lot of pressure off the newer people that aren't comfortable with putting in their own stats, but that's fine. Like we said before, the whole thing about reducing your computer FPS, or even just a solemn fucking trip, if you want to press F10, you go on your own. That's such a very simple thing for me, but it's very
from WoW, people love a solo experience.
Exactly.
Sometimes they don't want to mess around with other people.
Now, here's another interesting system. Again, this is new to me. I don't think... It seems like it was integrated quite generically into like a CRPG, sorry. Is social points. Now, social points you build up with people through... Say, like if me and you were playing the same game, okay?
Okay.
Now, I can start messaging you directly,
Yeah.
and that will build up social points between us.
Okay.
Yeah? We do a dungeon together, that'll build up more social points. Kill raid bosses, more social points. To the point where you start, like, I think you build up to 9 hearts worth of social points.
Aw.
Yeah? You know what I mean? Besties, mate. To the point where, I don't know if it works for same sex, it should do, but we can get married, mate.
Bro, I'm yours.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. You're the wife. But an actual in-game ceremony where you can get married. I love that. I know that's been done before.
Yeah, it has.
It has been done before.
I'm not surprised. I am not surprised.
Another pro for me is the mentoring system. Now, you can put yourself as a mentor, where new players that are like coming to the game, it'll tell you, like if I searched for a mentor, it's like I'm pretty overwhelming. It does tell you about mentors quite early on as well. Look, if you're getting overwhelmed, if you want some advice, you should look for a mentor. I think mentors themselves can take on 5 at a time. And you can look at someone, you click on their character, and it's like a CV, where they're from, how they can help you. And then you actually click on them.
That's really interesting.
Do you know what I mean? So you both get, like, I don't know the full extent of it, but you both get small bonuses. Like, I think there's a teleportation where you can move to and from them with a limited daily use.
That's a good idea.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
Because there's loads of people who want to. I just hope you don't get some fucking cookmeister who, like, sucks at the game. You know what I mean? He got boosted through Heroic Nighthold, and now he's a fucking mentor.
Yeah, you will get those. But, I mean, the guy that I had called Franz, mate.
Franz the mentor?
Franz, we only had 1 point of dialogue, and he just said... what was my character called now? Oh yeah, he said, "Hey Slade Wilson, just to let you know I'm online. If you do need any help, send me a whisper."
What a bro.
What a bro, yeah?
Marry
Absolute bro. So I do like the mentoring system. Like, you can have one teacher, a mentor can have, I think, up to 5 students. And it's just a fucking cool idea, man, to put your mind at rest as opposed to trying to search for everything online, you know, if you need help or something. And finally, it's a minor thing, but the camera mode. This was in my pluses because it was fucking really good. As opposed to just taking a screenshot, pop, pop, pop. The camera mode brings you into the game through the lens of a camera where you currently are. You get zoom, contrast, blur. You got the standard filters, and you can put like the I can't remember what it's bloody called now. I think it's called the aperture, like the range of focus and things like that.
Okay.
And you can make some really fucking cool pictures with it as well, and the high res.
Again,
pictures.
these games are very much about appearance.
Absolutely, very much about appearance, and that was very, very cool. I mean,
not as good as the selfie cam, surely.
That's not a comparable element, and I'd thank you to take that back. So yeah, as we can see, there is some very nice, like, new and improved, and, well, reused and improved, and new elements that the game are actually very cool. Yeah, but very cool.
Alright, let's do the cons.
Okay.
Here we go.
Right.
Now, cons?
I've taken it a little bit tongue-in-cheek because I know the risks, and I can't stress enough, it is a very different style of MMO when you're playing this kind of MMO. So that's fine, you have to expect it, you can't call it a bad game because of it. You get me? Look at you smirking now, shut up! So, new players to this genre will get very, very overwhelmed very quickly.
The first 40 levels of this game, of 79, are considered the tutorial.
Exactly.
Now, they go very quick.
They do go very quick.
It does not.
They do go very quick, and the point when you get out of the prologue area into the open world, you are literally exposed to the neutron bomb that is this game's options, availability, and functions, vendors, currencies, everything. There are 6 currencies in this game. There are 6
currencies at Endgame, and the system has so many different ways of building characters. Like Andy mentioned earlier, you can go from strength to dex and put your own points in. Talent systems on top of that. Gear choices on top of that, which do have, brace yourselves, very similar to Terra, an RNG roll system to upgrade it, where you throw in resources to add +1s to weapons. That can come with random bonuses as well. So no 2 characters will ever be alike in this game, but there's a heavy RNG element. It is there, and it is nowhere near as grindy as Terra. There's a message up Spartan. Nowhere near as grindy. But your end game goals, once you get past 40, are going to be building gear up to your golden gear. In order to, and I stress this, it's very important, gear score is a major thing in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Major thing in this game. Particularly when you get to the higher, like, 50 levels. Is gear score is going to be a very big deal. They have normal, heroic, and mythic modes that you've used to for a while, but they're called stars. So you have like the dungeon, it's a 1-star, then 2-star, then 3-star, which is the big deal. They also have dungeon limits. You can only fail a dungeon 3 times a day, and it will not let you carry on.
That's cool.
Yeah, once you've hit the limit, you're not going in there again. So
does that account for raids as well?
I don't know about the raids, but you can't spam farm.
That makes sense.
That means is there is a cash shop. This is a free-to-play game. There's a cash shop where you can buy orums, which can translate into anything. As I said, there's 6 currencies, and these break down into the gems, similar to what you'd see on an app game, but they turn into coins and all this kind of stuff. Now, you can actually purchase things at endgame. You can spend XP, you can spend coins, you can spend all kinds of things to get little bits of resources that ultimately end up trying to improve your gear and appearance and all that kind of stuff. That's what you're looking at towards endgame. Some cool things about that, though, is that because there's so many resources, and it's a very complex system, is they've introduced a system where extremely high-level players will be rewarded for running lower content with newbies, similar to the mentor system.
That's cool. I like that.
So, yeah, exactly. So if you were doing a Scarlet Monastery in WoW, for an example, if I came on my mage and ran you through there, I'd actually earn points towards stuff that I can get at endgame.
That's awesome. And everyone likes to be boosted.
The people love to be boosted, whether you like it or not. People love to be boosted. So you can do all that kind of stuff. There's a very, very weird, complex system that occurs. Once you hit a certain level, you'll no longer automatically level. So like in WoW, when you tick over, you get the level.
Yeah.
It stops, and you actually manually level yourself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you have to manually level yourself. This is at the higher levels, this is what happens. And you can actually bank XP way past your current potential new level.
Wow.
Yeah, so you can actually bank levels. Now, there is a very good reason for doing this. There is a tremendous amount of daily stuff to be done in this game.
Yeah.
Joining a guild's going to give you 10 quests a day. On average, if you were to try and do every daily you get per day, if you have access to everything, it's going to take about 3 hours with a group.
Wow.
Lots to be done. So you might say, is this a grindy as fuck game? No, because you're limited on certain things. There's lots of daily... It's like WoW. You could do all the world quests if you wanted to. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
You get access to lots and lots and lots of stuff.
You target specifics.
Until you... But as Andy said, you get overwhelmed with information. So once you know what you're targeting, it's not you're doing 3 hours. But you can do 3 hours a day with a group of fucking people if you want to.
Yeah.
But most players aren't going to be doing that at all. But that is there. Also, because of this level bracket system, the daily quests fall into brackets. They actually start... Like Guild Wars 2 doesn't wait till you to get endgame to get access to stuff. It starts at the beginning. So in this one, your dailies fall into brackets. So what you get is like at like 45 and 55, you'll get a new bracket of dailies.
Right.
That have become more difficult. So what you can actually do is hold yourself at a lower level until you farm a lot of gear, and then you are ready to skip forward a few levels while you're high geared to start doing the next content.
That seems really weird to me.
Very weird, because the game gets very, very hard gear-based.
Oh, okay.
Very hard gear-based. So you might have your dailies... Like the Broken Shore might be something that you don't unlock until you level past 55. But the Broken Shore is really hard, so you actually want very, very high gear before you change your level to 55 and are no longer able to do the 45 dailies. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes.
That's what it's doing. So, like, between levels 45 and 54, you're going to get a certain batch of dailies. But as soon as you tick over, you're going to get a whole new batch that are far more difficult. Better rewards, obviously, but there are definite guides and stuff out there which are like, slow down. Similar with PvP as well, because you can stall yourself at, like, level 49, and you're going to be in the 40 to 49 PvP bracket.
Yeah.
Tick over to 50, you're no longer in that bracket. Same as WoW. But you can control it. So what you get is a lot of people holding themselves at 49, gearing up then.
So they can make the jump to the end.
And increasing their gear score in order to do that. So be aware, the end game is not linear. It's not linear. There's all kinds of shenanigans you can do there in order to help this out. Now, is it a pay-to-win game? Seemingly not.
Pay to shortcut, it'll look like.
Pay to shortcut, yeah, to cut time out. Because very similar to like Terra, sure, you can invest money, but Terra can... A lot of people think that to do well in Terra, you're going to be playing 24 hours a day. What I can tell you is it's not that. You do not have to do that. You're talking maybe 3 or 5 hours a day to keep up as a free-to-play player. I don't think that's the end of the world if you're going to go full free-to-play on an MMO that you're going to be on a lot, or you can buy some of these gems.
And in comparison, mate, for a lot of the free-to-play based MMO models, it's actually very welcoming. Very welcoming, especially when you consider...
limited in-game anyway, so it's not like you can be massively behind.
Yeah, I mean, when you consider it like things that... I mean, even stuff that used to be a subscription-based model, things like Star Wars, they fuck you for being a free-to-play player.
Yep.
Whereas this one, I didn't feel... Obviously, I'm still leveling, and I guess that's a different kettle of fish, but I didn't feel like I was being hindered for not giving them money.
No, and that is the general feedback from the guys who are playing at the high end is not giving them money is not a big deal in this game at all. Not a big deal at all. Because you're basically looking at a lot of the stuff comes from quests, stuff you can't buy. You can buy and get a lot of gear, sure, but it's going to cost you a lot of money with the gems.
Yeah.
More than you would need. But if you do want to bypass it, you can. But it's not going to... It's nowhere near as harsh playing the free-to-play side.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with, in general... in these kind of games that you can buy time is essentially what you're buying. You're buying free time.
Yeah.
Where you don't have to be.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
But if the alternative, like we see a lot with these kind of games, is if the free-to-play side needs to be grinding like a motherfucker to keep up, that's bullshit.
It's not worth it.
That's bullshit. That's when those app games do the same thing, which is like, it's going to take you 2 days to do this, or you can finish it now for $1.
Yeah.
That's not fair, but that's not what's happening in this game so far. So I think that's something that's
I liked it. Yeah, I think the only other negative that I got is, well, one of them was map clutter, but that's on the same thing as being overwhelmed. As soon as you walk into a town or a city, everything's got an icon, and there are so many specific vendors.
Oh, yeah. And it gets worse later on.
I can imagine.
It gets worse later on. You're talking about vendors that are in a cave that are very specific. You're talking about you need to do this, and... Because you've got 6 different resources managing towards the end.
Yeah.
And how you acquire all of them is different.
Yeah.
So you're going to be learning and learning. But once you learn it, you'll be all right. But it's a lot. It's a lot.
It is a lot to take in. And I think the last one is the chat window itself. Now, this... I mean, I'm not on the development side of it, but I can only assume that I think it was something that they brought in on Warcraft. It doesn't sound like a complex process of a certain amount of reports and then that person gets timed out, ignored.
Gold spam is really bad in the beta.
Gold spammer is insane. To let me amplify that for you, there are about 30 chat channels, which are all on by default. Some of them are very random, and every one of them is not only being spammed by gold sellers, but you have the utility of using emojis in your chat.
Yeah, animated ones.
Very weebo. Very, very annoying.
Really annoying. So, I mean, hopefully that's something they're going to turn off in the beta, but they have to fix that because it's just
very
garbage.
much so. Chat is unusable. The only chats that the only boxes of dialogue, should I say, that I had up was, the stuff that tells you, like, you've just handed this quest in for this amount of XP and blah, blah, blah. That with local chat and whispers, that is it. I turned
you
everything
really need
else
to fix
off.
the chat system.
So
conclusion there, bruv.
On the whole, mate, for the conclusion, it was a nice change of pace from WoW. I knew what I was getting into when I did it because I played quite a few CRPGs or JRPGs. Different kettle of fish, different environment. I knew it was going to be very grindy, and I enjoyed it. There's a lot better movement for me. I like the rapid movement, the mixture between active aiming and actual target lock abilities. I loved it. The animations of both the spells, the environment were cool. It did downside in some areas, like we talked about the water area or the close-up animations.
It's so random, though, compared to everything else.
Yeah,
it's just like, how did you get that wrong?
But it's such a big area of animation as well for such a thing to get wrong. It can't be a bug. It's obviously being programmed that way. But outside of the whole vendoring, the amount of currencies, that sort of thing, if you can get your head around it, just take your time. I'm sure you will enjoy the fuck out of this game.
Yeah, for me, this strikes me as a place to go for a fresh start MMO. It's not doing anything that's completely different.
No,
it's
absolutely
not. To be fair.
not.
I mean, there's so many systems that are already in any other games, but these are a great place for the guys who like trying different MMOs. And I would recommend to you if you'd like moving between MMOs and trying them out and start. And that fresh start feeling is hard to get in MMOs.
It's hard to get, but also I can't stress enough is. Take your time.
Oh, God,
that's it. Do not be
patience. Video game.
Don't come out of like things like Warcraft where they have, what is it now? Something like 13, 14, 15 years of fine-tuning their new player experience to something like this and then think, fuck this. No, just take your time. There is nothing that you can do wrong that you can't fix. You know what I'm saying? Take your time, bros, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it.
Ladies and gents, Revelations Online. your thoughts after being balls deep for like 2 days straight?
Very pretty, very fun, and then all of a sudden, very overwhelming.
Jesus Christ, yeah. I mean,
Wow.
like 40 levels of tutorial. That's crazy
That's a
when
lot.
you think about it. It's
That's
40
a
levels
lot.
of tutorial, and then it's like, okay, we're pretty sure you got how to play the game.
Go.
Here's a shitload more
Well, that's it. You get 15 levels of a prologue, and then you put into an open world where it's suddenly like it's like the opening of a sand timer, mate. It just goes, whoa.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's a nice twist on MMOs that we've seen, which kind of like gradually ease you in. Where this one kind of is like, okay, very quickly boost you through the early game, and then we'll throw you into the later
Yeah.
stuff. I really, really like the idea of having high-end players get rewards for doing earlier content for people.
That's very good. It also keeps the old content relevant as well, so you don't just
Yeah,
skip past
absolutely.
it.
Let's
Very
face it,
tidy.
people like being boosted, right? They do. Whether you like it or not, you can check that pre-made finder in WoW and see people like looking for boost me. Do not want to do this myself. So the fact that endgame players can be like, yeah, I'll run you through and I'll still get endgame stuff, I thought that was a really nice twist. So
was.
that's something that could be really handy in WoW as well. Although I don't fancy hanging around whaling caverns too often. Not at all. So there you go. Revelations Online. Let us know, do you like us covering MMOs? Or do you think we just can't put enough time into it?
Yeah, they do need a little more time, but we did get a couple of good hours
Yeah,
into
it took 2 days of your time really
Yeah.
to test it out and see everything you could do. So let us know down below whether you want to see more MMO stuff or whether you'd be like, we'd rather get a full picture, which you can't really do for MMOs. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Bye.
Holy shit! Holy shit! You know the last thing I thought I was gonna see then? A fucking boulder flying at my face. There's the intro.